There's so much out there about AI, but unless you just dig in and you start like Claude coding, you start building agents and MCPs and figuring out how it's going to help you and figure out when it's lying to you and a bunch of different things, you have to have that experience so you can inform your customers because they want to know too. So if you talk generalities, they're not going to believe you. You have to show in depth.
Hey guys, Damien Stevens, host of MSP Mindset, founder and CEO of Servosity. Today, I'm blessed to be in conversation with Bryon Beilman. Bryon has done something crazy. He's gone from 37 to 24 employees. For most people, that sounds like the wrong direction. But at the same time, he's doubled revenue. So if you're paying attention, the revenue per employee is dramatically bigger. Here's the craziest part. He said his team has never had more free time and capacity. This has created freedom for them to invest in the next wave of their team and in the next wave of their business. So if you want to learn the unlock, the secret to growing and having freedom from vendors and freedom from stress and freedom for your team, don't miss out on our conversation today. Bryon, you're one of the rare few that I'm excited to have back on MSP Mindset for a second interview. So thank you for coming.
Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. I want to get right into it. You mentioned that one of your top company goals is around AI. So what is that specifically?
Yeah. So, I'll take a backtrack for a second. So those people who are in the MSP world, people might be familiar with EOS traction. Mm-hmm. So when we establish company goals, and out of those we have rocks. But out of our two goals, we have two primary goals. One of them is to enable AI at the company level and at our client level to basically make AI. There's a number of elements to it, but it's around AI implementing and embracing it culturally and using it daily. And there's lots of components to it. I could probably even talk about some of the details of that, but it's an important thing for us because our service delivery is around strategic initiatives for our customers. What's going to move the needle? What's going to help their business? And so in order for that to happen, you got to eat your own dog food for a while because, as you know, there's so much out there about AI, but unless you just dig in and you start like Claude coding, you start building agents and MCPs and figuring out how it's going to help you and figure out when it's lying to you and a bunch of different things, you have to have that experience so you can inform your customers. So because they want to know too. So if you talk generalities, they're not going to believe you. You have to show it in depth.
I get the pleasure to be in build sessions with MSPs just like you, building real things with AI. And the number one friction point, the number one blocker is I can't connect to all the systems. In fact, my vendor makes an MCP server or a connector or whatever they call it, yet it's read-only. Another one tried it and it limited them to 100 records. How are you going to search for all the tickets when you can only get to 100? If you're tired of vendor connectors and MCP servers holding your business back, check out the MSP Skills repo. The link is below. It's got over 50 different MCP servers, skills, and connectors that you can use to connect your entire stack to the agentic AI of your choice. Now, why do you care? The reason is you can now go through and say, find all the unused licenses that I'm paying for that I shouldn't be. Would you like it to go through and prep across all your different tools for that QBR? That thing that took you hours to prepare for one client is now one sentence. So if you want to make sure you're getting the value out of AI, you've got to connect it to your real world business systems. And there is no better place than the MSP Skills repo. Check it out on the link below. And if you have questions or if you just want to join, learn more, come to one of the build sessions. You'll see us putting it into action. So I think, you said a lot there to unpack, right? I love that. I think a part that we could skip over that most people might, but I want to take one thing you said because I think it's important is you focus on what's strategic for your customers, service delivery wise. so many of us have just been good or just been focused on keeping the infrastructure on, answering the tickets, kind of basic MSP stuff, which done well is still its own, challenge. What do you mean to focus on what's strategic for them? Like how, because I think most of us aren't there yet. So how do you even start to have that kind of dialogue with them?
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges MSPs may have is if you get in there as an MSP, say, hey, we're going to take care of your devices and backups, and we're going to, and so often you're not invited to the conversation.
Right.
With say, hey, you might say, hey, by the way, we do this cool thing over here. It's going to transform your business. And they say, that's great. We're bringing in Accenture to do that or whatever, and we generally lead with something, a project. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. So you start saying, well, let's lead with this project. Maybe it's an assessment. Maybe it's something about understanding a business challenge, whatever. And you have to, then, of course, then you back up before that, and you have to market that, your capabilities, and decide what you can actually do and deliver successfully. So we will often start with something strategic, and then in the conversation, they say, well, gosh, we could really use recurring support, and we could use this, can you be here for a long time? Can we have a contract so you don't leave? And like, yeah, sure. And by the way, how's your IT? How's your operational stuff? And we can decide whether that's in our wheelhouse or not. So we start with that conversation. And I'll even go further, is that we did a lot of branding work inside the company. And I don't think I remember previous conversation we talked a little bit about the book I wrote, I believe, but it was for us, brand and culture are basically two sides of the same coin. So you build this culture, and your brand is your external representation of your culture. So we figure out, who are we and what are we not? Because in MSP or a lot of worlds, you say, hey, if anybody's going to pay me for it, I'll just do it. And we said, we're not going to do these certain things. We're not good, like help desk. We are not a help desk. We're too expensive, and we just haven't operationalized it to be successful but we know what we're good at. So we came up with this phrase that kind of drove us, which was strategically human.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of strategy goes on, and there's lots of, when you're talking to your customers, your prospects, they can get overwhelmed with acronyms. There's a zillion of them in most industries, and IT is like that. And so we try to break it down to what they care about. And of course, now with AI, that's really important, because I don't know if I should use Opus or this or co-working, or it doesn't matter what it is, and you need to demystify that for them.
That's right.
So we started with that, and I'll tell you. And then if the reason why we decided this was a better route for us, and it's not the best route for everybody, but is that we have very experienced people. So we have, on average, like if you took all of our consultants, on average is 24 years of experience.
That's crazy high.
It's crazy high. Yeah.
That's not slightly above normal. That is crazy high in a good way.
Yeah. So people have done it, seen it. Sometimes I wrote a book on it. If you look at the building blocks of most technology, people say, oh, that's new. No, it's not new. It was built on this technology on top of that one, and you glued it all together properly. And so we understand those things. Now, there's the downside of that is to hire great people, you need to compensate them well. Otherwise, they'll leave. So anytime we've hired somebody, like, wow, this person is amazing, and if they live up to their potential, they're going to do great. And then what we've always found is that they not only did great, but they brought something new to the table that we didn't even know. Mm. And so, like, it made us a better business along the way. So it started a long time ago, and by hiring people better than us. Like, everybody in the company is way more technical than me and way better at a lot of things than me. And that's the way it should be. So you build on that, and then suddenly you realize, wow, we have all this really great capacity. Now they're willing to culturally go. They're willing to fix someone's desktop. They're willing to dive in and fish through network cables if they have to, but that's not the best use of their time. Mm-hmm. It's more like, we are in chaos. Can you help us? And we just dive in with our parachutes and say, yep, let's go and let's do it. And we can figure it out. And we do this thing called chaos to clarity and so forth. So the point is, we it's built over time. If you make a switch, you got to make a switch in your mind saying, I think we want to do this for various reasons. You have to purposely drive that way, and you have to make sure you don't focus on the shiny thing on the left that might drive you to like, well, we always done it this way. So I'll pause there. I said a lot. I don't know if I went the direction you wanted to go, but
Speaking of shiny thing, AI can be the ultimate shiny thing, right? It changes faster than anything I've ever seen, but it's one of your core goals. So how do you reconcile those?
Yeah, well, the reason why it's certain elements of AI are shiny. So because it's our goal and we're focused on it. So let's talk about how we operationalize this a little bit.
Please.
So we said, okay, let's make sure that everybody has a Copilot license, so that's the first step. Is people don't want to pay for that. We say, hey, everyone has at least a Copilot license, and through this we can monitor the usage. You can do it. They give you a dashboard showing how many queries people use on Copilot. Now, in my opinion, Copilot is good at some things and terrible at other things. But if you're going to, so by bringing in Copilot, for example, in Microsoft, you have this enterprise agreement. It says, listen, you have all of our data, and it has all of the proper securities realms in there. So I'm not, if somebody queries about me, they're not going to find documents in my directory, because it knows who and does a good job of those type of things. So I can do general things like, tell me the best strategy using our go-to-market strategy that I should talk to this customer and so forth. It has some useful tidbits on that, but you have to use it every day. Mm-hmm. So that's one element. And then what we've done too is we use a number of third-party tools. So people have PSAs. We happen to use Autotask, and so we've built a graph connector that imports all of our Autotask data into 365. So inside 365, you might say, show me the top tickets or top issues or something like that. And so you do that within a interface where before you had to go to Autotask and you say, let me do a report and a dashboard, and is that right? And you're tweaking it all the time. And now you can just do it. You can do it in human language. I just did it today. Like, just show me this factoid I want to know that compares these things inside a database we've had for 17 years of data. So part of our thing was to incorporate this into the Microsoft Graph and the whole area there. That takes some effort. So we're doing various tools there. But I think we did going on AI. We have another level. We have the AI SMEs, the subject matter experts. We formed a team. There are some people who are super passionate about it. They're leading the way. Everybody can join this weekly meeting. And then we have tech talks. We always have had tech talks. So we've had tech talks every 2 weeks. And during lunch, somebody says, let me tell you about how this works. And so I think we have over 600 tech talks or something crazy like that we've recorded. And we're actually going to thinking about making that external for clients and trying to make it so that we can share data. We often don't share those tech talks because we're like, hey, I did this at a customer, or this is something cool that it has to be something you don't want to share with the world. But so we have this group that's driving it, and with rocks that go along with it. But we also we went to OpenAI for a little bit. We ended up settling on Anthropic Claude for a group of people who said, I want to code. And then because I don't know, Copilot is not great at coding. So we set up, we set up a whole development environment in a secure way with containers and various things. And it's like a one click, you can be a developer and your VS Code and so forth. So people can dig into that. And I think I think we have probably about 10 people doing that on a regular basis. Mm. And so what that's allowed us to do, so you talk about the shiny things, you can say, well, I want to do something cool, but then what do you want to do that's going to add value to the business?
Right. That's the question.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that we struggle with always is having the right amount of data. So like right about having the answers at our fingertips for certain things. I mentioned Autotask earlier, but there's Autotask. There's a number of different tools. Let's say you would say, I want to figure out what kind of resources we have. If we want new business, like, do I have enough? What's our utilization of? And you could kind of go on different tools and do that. And then you talk to people, and it's a very manual process. We've got a dashboard that shows our complete utilization with skill set and so forth. So we say, hey, if we're going to win this job, look, it's right there at our fingertips. And we know that we can win so many deals without having to hire somebody. Right. So those kind of things are at our fingertips, where we kind of had to, we had to do a lot of talking and looking at certain things. But we have a very complete dashboard now that our VP of services basically, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And he just cranked it down, and then he's like, what else can I add to it? So forth. So it's allowed us to move faster, because AI's with the APIs, it's taking all that we have. These agents go around, gather this data, put it into a dashboard. It's real time, and allows us to do visualization.
So
I'll say,
go ahead. I wanted to kind of double click there, because in my experience, a lot of people have chatted with AI, but they haven't connected tooling, APIs, MCP servers, connectors, whatever, they're called, skills, etc. Depending on the platform. And maybe they've connected one and they've put a little data out, but sometimes you connect 2, 3, 4, and you can now do all sorts of more interesting things, data in, data out. What does it unlock now that you've kind of gone past what I would call just chatting with AI?
Yeah, well, I think what it unlocks, I think, so if you think about chatting, you're asking a specific question, and it's very, in some ways, it's unstructured, right? You don't know what you're going to ask, you know what you're going to get, and you say, I want to know our total pipeline value. I want to know my net revenue retention. I want to know certain things, and so you could say, well, let's look at QuickBooks, but you say, I want this all the time. So so if you want to encourage your company to say, listen, here's the data, and you are empowered to do the right thing. And they say, gosh, I noticed that our utilization is going down or up or whatever. We even have well-being score, like how people feel about things with surveys. So you have this and everybody can communicate. They have a central way. It's not like, I wonder this, I wonder, like, well, these are the things that we think are important. That's our dashboard. And so they're concrete. So there's some pre-steps, like, well, the dashboard wasn't made at a whim. It was made on the same things we do with traction. Like, what are we tracking from from revenue or whatever. So you have certain things you want to track, but then usually every week, or you say, so someone's going to update this, and somebody's going to do this. And so that's not the case anymore. Everybody can see it. We also, and I think I talked, for those of you who didn't listen to the previous one, I wrote a book called Leadership at the Edge. And one of the chapters is about open book management. And I said, share as much as you possibly can, finances, because when you share this stuff and you have good people, they're going to be able to see it in a different way and go, wow, I'm going to make this happen. And so we embrace that. And that's part of this. So the dashboards is one thing. That is, we've got we also have a customer dashboard, so we can look at our customers. We also take that data. So we have Autotask. We've got HubSpot as our tool. We've got a number of other tools that we use to track QBRs and various things. And now it's all in one spot, so we can say, well, give me a sense of what's going on with this customer. Who are the contacts? It was just all in different places, and we also compare that to market data. We look at what's going on in their market. We look at what's going on their website. They'll have a posting like announcements, whatever. So you can compare all that. So if somebody wants to provide strategic value, they say, well, look, here's everything that's been going on across all our tools and communication and Slack channels and everything. And oh, by the way, they just announced that they just got this new drug out, or they just announced that they, I don't know, they're going public or something, which you should know anyways. But you can use that all together, and it's not digging through. So it compresses the time to move. And then, so that's an element to that. I think that's how you can add more value, because you're not just saying, well, hey, customer, I closed these many tickets. And then ticket is just an indicator of work being done, right? And just proof of that. So so although they are good for tracking mechanisms, I would think if you asked your customers if number of tickets closed, I mean, they want to know, they don't want open tickets and they want you to respond quickly. But if you said that was a valuable metric to them, they might say, no, what's valuable to me is that my stuff works.
Yeah. Now, I want to get back to a part where you talked about AI being one of the focuses. And, you have, the thing is, I think most people are saying, I know I need to, but I don't know what to do with. Like, I know I need to do AI, and I know I need to kind of figure out how to do it internally, dog food it, and then take it to my customers. But in my experience right now, most MSPs are still at that stage going, it changes every minute. How do I get my arms around it? What do I do? And we have people that go, I don't know, I'll just resell a vendor and I'll just kind of stay on the edges. And then we have people that think they need to learn everything that comes out every 5 minutes. I think both of those are probably the wrong take, but I'd love to hear your experience.
Yeah, I think, well, like you, I've talked to a couple of peers and they say, well, first we got to figure out our AI policy. That's our goal this year. I'm like, that's your goal this year? And so we developed an AI policy early on, but it's like, I think there's some people can get bogged down too, because it can be scary saying, like AI can look at all my data or my customers' data, and you got to have, that's a real thing. And I'll get to your deeper question in a second, but we were just at a conference. We had a booth. It was a life science conference, and we were talking about our strategic consulting, and we had some stuff around AI. We had our AI experts there just in case, and they should have called it the AI conference, because everyone in these life sciences, it was about AI. It's about getting the right data in the right place and good data, and so it can be overwhelming. And I think especially when you become a really large company and you haven't been paying attention to how your data is structured or secured, and so that could be an initial project. But for those who are trying to decide where to jump in the water, I think it can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
And so when I first said I want to get into this, I was like, well, I don't really know I want to code or not, and I just want to use it. And then suddenly I realized I think I want to code, and so so we decided to go with Claude. You can choose OpenAI, and we chose Claude for various reasons, but you just choose one. And during the time that we've done this, has been 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. Now they have a new one coming out. That's 5. It was, I can't remember, top of my head, but you can easily switch those models and go, wow, this is even better than before. But
that's right.
But I think so if you're trying to figure out what to do, I would say you have to move fast, and maybe you're going to break a few things. You don't want to let your secrets escape, and there's some things you can do best. There's you may know as the dudes programming yourself, like you don't put your credentials in your Git repository, right? That kind of stuff. People's like, well, I wrote a program, and so anyways, there's a lot of things you can do up front to like. Matter of fact, you can use AI. Say, I need to create a secure framework that every time I do this code, check everything out before I check it in, and so forth. And there's so you can. One of our members, and I think it is too much. I say, well, how do you get started? He's like, just tell AI you want to get started. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you'll literally do that. It's like, how do I use this new framework in our Git repository? It's like, just have AI point to the repository and say, use this. And that's a little too loose-ended for me. I like to know exactly, but I was able to say, okay, let me look at this a little bit. And so sometimes AI will help if you ask the questions and like, how can I get started? Just maybe that's a decent way to start. And you can ask it, like, what are the things I should be worried about security, or what are the things in your mind? What is stopping you? That is a possible way. I've been a little obsessed, and and luckily I have a little bit of time to focus on this. Not every CEO does, because I have our integrator is my co-founder. He's largely, he does the day-to-day running the company of certain things. But even watching videos online of how this stuff works, and then I've been watching these Claude videos. Well, so what is fascinating to me is you watch the company like Claude or like Anthropic that has literally is one of the few ones making money, for one.
Right.
And their rate of growth and adoption is due to their ability, but also their culture, I think, is a part of it too.
Yeah.
I think once they said, "Hey, government, we're not just going to do everything you said. We're not going to put these in weapons, right? Just because you." And I think their adoption went way up. Like, whoa, these guys are actually going to follow their core values. That's just my own feeling on that. But I watched. So what I found, I watched this weekend was a video of this woman giving a presentation at Anthropic, and she's talking about, like, she worked at Microsoft, she worked at Facebook, or she looked at, and she was a manager of these companies, and she's looking at just at Anthropic, the way they're doing code, the way they're changing the way they're doing things is radically changing inside the company. And so I was like, holy cow, like I felt like I had a really growth mindset, but these people are moving super fast. They're like saying, why would I do this when I can tell my agents, they're all set up in the morning. I'm looking at my coffee and it's telling me what's going on. And I can make these hard decisions, and then I can guide it versus. And so at one point you get to that point where you're like, wait, I'm actually using my brains to tell this army of agents to do things.
Yeah.
And the more mundane it is, the more you should have it work on it.
Yes.
And so there's going to be a line you cross, and there's a aha moment. And I think, and even if I stuck on, Claude 4.8, I would probably be pretty good for a while. But so you have to jump in the water. And if you can't swim very well, stay towards the shallow end a little bit, and then just swim out there a little farther, and you realize you can swim better than you think you can.
What's unprecedented is the rate of change. I think most of us got into technology because we like change. And then this is just unprecedented. So I get the fatigue and overwhelm. And if you feel that way, you're not alone. I'll never forget Karpathy, one of the founders of OpenAI, now at Anthropic, said he doesn't feel like he can keep up. And so if he can't keep up, welcome to the club. But on the other side, what you said is so true, Bryon, right? This is like, I remember it used to be like Cisco networking, and other things. And that's, some of that stuff was pretty arcane commands to memorize and type in. This is English. And if you don't know, ask it. And if you don't know how to, like you said, how should I set up security in a good way? It'll tell you some things. If you don't ask it for security, it won't give you any. But if you at least ask for security, you'll have better than zero. If you ask about how I do this or how can I experiment with this. So it is very weird. In one way, it's unprecedented rate of change. The other way, it's far more approachable than trying to be, a CCNA or MCSE or whatever, back in the day of memorizing a somewhat arcane syntax. So I want to step out for a second and just kind of talk about the results. We're talking a little bit of how, but if I understand, you have done a couple things that's highly unusual. Doubled revenue. Is that correct?
Yeah, over a period of time, sure. Not in 1 year, but over a couple of years, yeah.
Okay, so over a couple of years, you've doubled revenue, which normally would mean, as an MSP, double headcount. And I think you shared with me you went from 37 to 24, or somewhere around there?
Yeah, over a period of like 5 years, yeah.
Okay. So the question I was going to ask, how many did you fire because of AI?
Zero.
Right. That's the thing. People miss that sometimes.
Yeah. So we were at one point we made some, talking about this journey we've had where if you're doing typical MSP thing, how many devices, how many people you do have, and you scale that way. And it's nice because it's a predictable revenue stream. It's you can scale it, you understand it. We changed a little bit more to we're doing things, the value added, and the reason why people are gone is that there were natural attrition points along the company, or it happened in a more natural way. We didn't say, you know what, AI is coming. I mean, this happened. We did have I don't know, a couple of years, 3 years ago, we had a downsizing a little bit. It's a couple of major customers. We were struggling to try to keep everybody there, and we just had to make a choice. That's how it happens from time to time. It's only happened twice in the 19 years that we've had the company. Mm-hmm. And we take it very seriously, because I could tell you generally that I love all of our employees. They're just like, they're so good at people, and they do such a good job. But over time, as things have happened, we just maybe we didn't replace them, or we say, hey, what's our capacity now? And people started rising to the occasion and doing things, and so over that 5 years of time, we went from like 37 down to 24. And that same period of time, we went from 5 million to 10 million of revenue. So we doubled the revenue with less people, and it wasn't like, it was never a squeeze. It was like, as a matter of fact, the way we're doing things now, I still, like I told you with this dashboard, we still have capacity. We think we can grow without, and it's just because of the type of work we're doing. Maybe it's the rates we're charging. Maybe it's a combination of things. But it's, so I guess that's, I guess when we were talking earlier, we talked about that sounds like a successful outcome. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you attribute any of that freedom or capacity to anything you're doing with AI?
Well, the capacity in the future. I mean, when a lot of this happened over time, we weren't always an AI company. Obviously, nobody was.
Yeah, 5 years ago, nobody was really. Yeah.
Yeah, we were focused on automating and providing automation at some point, but really trying to provide a higher level of value, and that's where I talked about. So we changed our model, and we stuck to it, and we just keep digging. We keep emphasizing it. So, but going forward, I think we have a great level of trust within our employees. But I will say that I've communicated through video, through email, through Slack, through every channel we can on a semi-regular basis, encouraging everybody to embrace AI, and that it's not going to replace them. We have no, and I'll stand by this forever. If we're not going to get rid of people because of AI, we want them to be more empowered to use AI, and we think we can grow the business, and they can be part of that, and they can upskill, and they can do things they've never done before, and they can, because they can because everybody has stuff in their job they don't like. It's like, you got to do this thing. So even timesheets, we have a thing in Slack that talks to AI. It says, I just did this thing. Can you put a timesheet entry in? And it's like, okay, boom. It's what is causing you to hate using XYZ tool? Let's find an easy way to do it. So those are the type of things I think will make people's jobs better and easier. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any threat. Though in my mind, AI is not threatening anybody at our company. I think what we're doing might become a threat to other MSPs who aren't going into AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's lots of business for all of us. I really don't. I don't have a poster of my biggest competitor on the wall, and I'm going to take them down. I mean, I figure like there's so many. There's room for most of us, right? And I think, but if they want to grow, I do think that's important to dig into some strategy soon.
Yeah, well, if you're following along, you can do math at all. That kind of revenue by that many employees puts you almost double, maybe double the best in class. So there's something you're doing right, automation, culturally, go to market, some combination thereof, because you're making best in class. Look, you're in a different ballpark. So I want to, if you're following on this story with Bryon, that is amazing. But every time I talk to you, it's about the culture, it's about the people, how you're enabling them. I want to talk about like this subject matter expert group, this AI one they put together. you said like they're now coding. Were they developers or coders? Or are they now because of their
They, no. Well, I would say that, as you probably know, like there's not, I mean, maybe there is now, but I mean, forever, there's never been really an IT degree, and
right.
so like, let's say I'm doing vibe coding with some, I can see what's wrong or right, but I haven't coded since really, I mean, anyway, so most of us are maybe we're scripters, like, write some Perl, do some scripts that are going to operationalize things. That's most of the extent of it. One of our biggest coders is in our operations and HR team. This
I didn't
guy,
think so.
yeah, the guy Justin, he's like he dug himself in. And matter of fact, I think we have a podcast, him talking about his adventure, and he just wanted to learn it. And he's always wanted to learn it. And we said, yeah, you could go ahead, and we'll give you the time. And so he's been doing great things with AIs, trying to like do things around our finances or integrating some of the reports we would have to do. And matter of fact, he has actually been billing to our customers.
Wow.
Yeah, so he basically the people needed to they needed something in the Microsoft environment, and he was he said, "Oh, Jesse can do this. He's done it for us," and he just finished 2 big projects for 2 different customers. So it's very rare that an HR / operations person who does our benefits and our payroll, he's billing out to a customer because the customer really needed this, and he had the expertise. So he wasn't a coder. Some people have backgrounds in engineering. The person leading our AI, I think he's got a biology degree with a master's in information systems or something. But for the most part, I would say no. We're not official coders, but we do use the methods. We've got a Git repository. We do pull PRs and commits and so forth. So we try to, and that's again, like how do you do this in the best class? Let's have AI guide us along, and then put some structure around it when we think, and we have to agree eventually we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you have to. I mean, well, I would say if you want to make your business smarter and the way it runs, I think you're going to have to do some coding through AI.
Yeah. And that means you probably can't, Codex, Claude Code, there are tools for that you have to get out of the web browser. You may have to get uncomfortable. Like you said, you're mentioning GitHub and pull requests. There's this terminology, and AI can teach you what it is, and AI can generally do it for you. But jump in. I know we've been through the same experience in my team for people that didn't know anything about those things, and now we're doing those sort of things and contributing in amazing ways. So it's like if you don't limit people, you never know what they'll come up with. Speaking of, I think you have a policy around like you can spend how much time if it helps the business around AI.
I should know this, but we don't have a specific. I don't have specific hours. We generally let people spend. Oh, so let me back up. So what we do is we say, listen, you are responsible you have responsibilities and you have outcomes you have to meet. Take care of the customer. Whatever, and everybody has a number of customers. Take care of the customer, do your job. If you got extra time on your hands, do something that's going to grow you. And right now we like that to be AI, but it could be something else. It could be, I want to learn more about marketing or something. And so we don't have a minimum billing requirement for employees. So a lot of times, and we did it earlier, and we said, listen, you have to bill at least a minimum of 37 hours. We'll give you 3 hours to do whatever. And so it can be very stressful. Like, okay, I had to travel, I did this, I billed, and so we said, we lowered that down. And then finally we said, we don't do that anymore at all. We're focused on outcomes and not billable time.
Interesting.
even though we do have retainers with customers that are by the hour, but we want to do like, if we can do more in a short amount of time, that's more value for our customers.
Yeah.
And they will find, if you do that really fast, they will find cool stuff for you to do. And so you're not going, well, I just need to use up all the hours. That's not our mindset. But because with that extra time, then you can say, I want to learn AI. It made me think about something, different areas, right? So let's say I mentioned marketing. Somebody want to learn more about marketing. So we have a marketing person, Jess, and she's amazing. But we just had a big roll. We had a big brand rollout a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago. I don't know, so forth. Where we hired a website designer because we use HubSpot, and HubSpot can be a little bit different to do than other platforms. But we wanted to completely change how we to the best practices. Well, our website designer company, they flaked out on us. Said we're struggling here. We don't have the time. They were going through their own problems. So my team sat with Jess and said, we're going to help you. We're going to help you use Claude to refresh all of our web pages using Claude. And we're going to get you the maximum number of tokens you need and whatever, and teach you how to do that. And she cranked out the rest of this project. She took over for the web designer because she's like, and she rolled out her website. And she had people, quality check, and even had agents let's make sure it's all right. So she is definitely not a coder.
Right.
And she did this, and she did all within, I don't think she did VS Code. I think she did she did it within the Claude app on the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
But, we had it connected to HubSpot and various things. So she did something very complex with zero coding knowledge, and a great outcome, because, if you're our website, we've got hundreds and hundreds of blogs, and they all had to be refactored, and hundreds of, and so perfect thing for some agents that says, understand your format and your color palette and your various things to go off and do this, and resounding success. So that if you're talking to somebody technical leading a company, and maybe if you're a marketing person can do this, then that's maybe an inspiration for you to do that.
Yeah. You can get your hands dirty. And I think a lot of people, lead with the cost savings, right? That website company wasn't free. You could say we saved X. That's great. But how empowered I'm sure she feels now to make changes and to do things that you would normally have to wait and bid and, go to an external party. And now she can do, your marketing person, so many things. Is that one of the outcomes you see?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it wasn't about saving money. We would have paid that money to that company. They were just struggling for various reasons. And when we had to do technical stuff on HubSpot before, we'd have to, I get involved, somebody else would get involved. It was a little bit more like we have to change some underlying structure. But she's now going forward. So she's empowered, and she and allows us to move forward in a way. And we've always said, and I'm big on marketing, so I've never said no to a request. Like, you think this is going to have a high value, and you're going to try to show ROI on this. And I treat things like the scientific method. Like somebody says, well, I want to figure out whether this grows in this petri dish, and then I think it's going to, and I'm going to try a couple of things, and either it did or it didn't, and I'm going to learn both ways.
That's right.
So that's how we approach a lot of things. Like, we have a pretty good idea this is going to work. It may not work, but you're trusted to try it. And if you do it and you struggle along the way, you're going to develop a lot of grit and resilience, and know that we all have your back. And if it fails miserably, just raise your hand, or starts to fail, just raise your hand, and you'll get help.
Yeah.
So it's a cultural adoption, which makes you think a little bit about what we've been talking about. I don't know whether you talk to many people, but I found that many MSP owners that I talk to don't necessarily trust their people.
Yeah, some of them don't, for sure.
Yeah. And so, and I say to you, like, well, if you don't trust them, why would you hire them?
Right.
Or you're the problem because you don't trust
Yeah.
anybody and nobody can do as good as you and so forth. So if you're going to adopt a new technology and jump in with both feet, two feet, yeah, then you have to. I think there's got to be a level of trust within um, your employees, and say, and I'm sure somebody in the company would love to be like, I'd love to lead this. I want to take it on.
Yeah. Yeah. And in our own journey, it's been not always the technical person. It's been interesting people. They're fired up, passionate. Maybe they just see the problem that nobody else sees through the same lens. And that's what's been interesting and surprising from my perspective. I love how you boiled down some of your culture to the scientific method. That's really cool. How you said one of your goals is to do this in the company and take it to clients.
Hmm.
Where are you in that journey? How do you take this to clients?
Yeah, so this has been so far fairly successful. So the way we're structured is that we have engagement managers. So we have in our company we have 24 people as mentioned. In the technical staff we have 4 VCIOs. So they're in charge of the big relationships, but then we have a series of engagement managers. So they are the day-to-day interface with the customers. And so our engagement managers would set up a meeting with all of our customers and just about AI. We're just going to have a meeting with you, whoever's the point of contact, and we're just going to talk about where are you in AI? What do you want to, are you scared? Do you want to do it? Are you forward? And so forth. And just have these discussions to educate them and let them know that we're there for them. And in some cases, if they're forward moving, like we could use the help with this and this, and we might guide them along or give them resources. If they want us to help, sure, we will do it. But we try to be their trusted advisor, and we're meeting with every single one of them. And it's been, in the end, their journey has been all over the place. But we're tracking each one of them in our system, saying, okay, well, we met with so and so, and here's where they are, and here's some of their challenges. So we can use those challenges. Like, well, how can we help them get over the challenge? Is it a cultural problem or is it a technical problem? Like maybe they just really they're in a regulated environment and data cannot escape no matter what. So like, okay, let's figure out their data policy, that kind of things. Because there's those kind of things arise. Or we might ask questions about what is the biggest thing that takes the most time for you?
Mm-hmm.
So it allows us we're having business level discussions because there are some technical, but we're able to have those. We specifically have these meetings with them. And then we're having a lot of meetings with prospects about this as well, because we spent, I told you, like marketing, our go-to-market motions, like a lot of people do outbound sales, we're mostly inbound. So a lot of SEO, and now there's AEO, or they call it many things, but
yeah,
we've had people, in fact, just happened yesterday, like somebody went to open ChatGPT and said, what is the best company in Boston to do this XYZ? And they called us. So that people are trusting the AI. So we're specifically marketing and doing what we need to do in that area to get them. So all of these things lead to like, well, people are going to start to trust us, and we're going to have some really great case studies and work on that. So I think the question, our clients are probably in the range of the people you talk to. Like some of them are like, yes, we're going this way, and some are like, we're a little shy about this. How can we get started, or should we?
Yeah. So is that turning into project work or recurring work, or what do you see a separate line of business or like a chief AI officer? I'm curious of like business model mechanics around what you see coming out of this.
Yeah, I think the first part of it is projects. I think, and part of for us is we want to do a project, but then we also want to enable them. So it's like anything. We don't want to say, well, you can only do it if we're around.
Right.
We, as far as monetizing on a regular basis, like we are early Anthropic partners. So we went through this various training, and so we're going to the next level. They said you're accepted, then but in the end, like anybody who wants to become an Anthropic partner, you can't resell Anthropic or Claude like you can Microsoft. So that's not a business model. For us, it's more about having the expertise and trusting. But I think it's going to be mostly projects. Do I see? I think it's going to be maybe a recurring set of projects. If you do this one well, what else can you do, and so forth. So I don't think we have a specific recurring thing, although I think some projects could take a long time. And so that could be a challenge, because people, like, one reason you like MSP work and recurring revenue, because you sell it and it's like clockwork. Every month you get paid. And so we can do it on a retainer basis, and we may have to like finish a project and then go on, and maybe that nothing happens. But you're then building, so that could be a gateway. So if it's our customer, well, they're already a customer. If they're a project, maybe they're saying, well, you did this, and I have so many other problems with my IT, MSP, whatever. What else can you do for me? That's when you start doing really, it could go into recurring areas. That I haven't really thought too much. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this recurring service model for AI?
I'm interviewing people about that, so I'm asking them. There's a few that are, kind of like vCISO or vCIO wasn't a thing. They're coming out with a chief AI officer. Others are selling blocks of hours. I think, I suspect before MSP, most of us we're doing hourly time and materials, and then we kind of moved to blocks of hours. And then we kind of realized there's this different packaging called managed services. So I kind of suspect there'll be some evolution needed. I'd love to say that I was smart enough to figure out outcome-based, because I think that would be really easy to sell. If we can bring you more leads, or if we can reduce your time to produce this or something like that, and projects can, but unless you're focused on a niche where you have the same problem over and over again, outcome-based may be something that is probably a further evolution. But at least from what I see, we're still fairly early on that, because most MSPs are still trying to figure out, what do I even do with AI, let alone how do I make money? And then I think projects is usually the first rung, and then trying to maybe sell billable hours or an AI officer. And then what I love about it, though, is no matter where we are in the phase, I think this is the best opportunity we've ever had to really talk about business and not just infrastructure and keeping the lights on. As many of us have said that we're going to have a seat at the board table and we're going to really be valued, we're really at most kind of supporting the CTO or CIO or being a vCIO, and that's okay. But they don't usually say, like, if we buy this company, how is this going to look, right? They want to make sure we keep the lights on, but we're not really there. In this case, if we can help them do things faster, resolve things faster, generate leads, have better EBITDA, whatever the things are now, because my point is my IT budget is X and I'd like it to be smaller usually. But if you can generate more leads or help me see more patients or do more contracts if I'm an attorney or whatever the thing is, my budget's probably about as much money as I could give you. So I think it's interesting because we're all in that phase figuring that out. But I think we have the best opportunity to really have this business conversation that we've ever had, because we could solve, like you said, it could be cultural. The adoption of AI being slow may not be technology, it may be cultural. So I think there's ways that if you built this culture, you could perhaps help them, maybe not be exactly like you, but to fix some things that are not purely IT, that are maybe cultural. And we can really help people in a bigger level. I also have this concern that the MSP industry, we kind of missed out on SaaS. People just went and bought HubSpot and they didn't consult us, or whatever they bought, and especially on like the sales or marketing side. And so I think if you stay out of the game too long, this could be SaaS, and they'll just go and they'll, like you said, Accenture, right? Whoever, they'll get it somehow. But I think if we're adopting it, we have the security and the governance and the other pieces that they're going to need to put together so you can access the data in the right way, in a secure, governed way, and know how to access the data. So it's a long-winded way of saying I think MSPs are in the right position. It's just going to be if we manage to take advantage of this gigantic opportunity. Because I look at like, I can't tell you how many people, MSPs are not. They're like, we only allow this in our company. When you go audit, like your employees are using all kinds of AI that you have no idea. There's so much shadow AI going on. And it's different, but I look at it in the same way. It's like if you're not going to help your customer solve some of those problems, then they'll find somebody that will.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something very powerful there, I think, is outcomes. And we've that's something that we strive towards. You know, we could talk to be like we're trying to do we're going to do this based on outcome, and it's often scary for people. It's like a fixed price project. We're going to do this, and stuff could happen, and so like what, and then you could lose you could lose badly if you don't do it well. But the outcomes, I think, is the I like I said, I don't know about a recurring model other than performing and doing more of it, but some of the big companies, McKinsey, Accenture, Boston Consulting Group, and so forth, they have typically, their model is they come in, they'll do a project, it's $1 million. They have a couple high-end leads. They got these guys fresh out of college. They're doing all the grunt work. Their customers are saying, hey, listen, AI can do the stuff that your little grunt work people are doing. And so we don't want to pay that kind of money because, you know, for that. So they're going to they're actually, there's some great articles about this. They're saying, well, okay, we're going to do it on outcomes, or we're going to, for example, save your money, or we're going to increase your number of leads. One of the examples we have for us is that one of the first AI engagements we got involved with was a construction company. And they're not even on our normal vertical, but it was because it was AI. We want to tackle this. And it was a high-end home builder. And, you know, and he builds, you know, builds really awesome houses. And he said, the thing that's taking me is it takes me 3 weeks to quote people because I've got all these different vendors for septic and for siding, and, you know, and he's a catalog of things he's got to do. And he's got to get all the workers and contractors and stuff like that. And he goes, I want to use AI. I was pretty impressed for a construction company to be so like, I know I can do this with AI. And so he goes, if I can do this, he said, I think I can get another $3 million a year just because my bottleneck is quoting. And so can you help us make an AI system that's going to take this catalog, read this in, you know, and allow them to get more business. That was the bottleneck he recognized. So it was early on. I don't think it was like last summer. We helped him get set up in this structure. He didn't have a lot of money to spend with us, so but we would have looking back. We said, yeah, we'll get you set up and start the project. So we're looking very favorable. Looking back, we should have said, hey, we'll do this project, and for every, you know, like maybe we'll charge very little or nothing, but maybe for every net new, you know, revenue stream from this, we'll take a cut. You could do that, right? And if you're and we weren't as confident back then about what we could do, but those are areas that you could say, I'm going to show you value, and I only get paid when this works for you.
Yeah. Either revenue cut, or I mean, the amount of time they save per quote, right? Because not every quote comes through, but at 3 weeks is a huge amount of time in quoting.
Yeah. And, you know, look at your salary for people. How long do they take? You know, we think it's going to save you over a year this much in labor to do this stuff. And, you know, and AI is going to help you get 90% there in about an hour, and then you can just tweak it after that. You know, so.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, if it's costing them $500,000 a year, and you charge them 50 or 100 grand a year, that's a great deal for both of you.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part. If you actually crack that nut, please share. Because I can see it coming, right? It's just, there's a few more, I think, pieces to pull together to make sure you're confident enough to deliver that.
Well, I think the challenge with this model, with moving it to some kind of recurring model, is because of the way you mentioned, the rate of change is so fast. So we might say we're going to do this, and we got it down, and then they come up with a new feature. Well, now there's schedules, and there's this, and all this stuff is built into AI, and so you're like, well, we created a framework for that, but now that's just part of what it does. So you're going to have to, I think, you have to keep saying, you have to like I think you mentioned SaaS. Like you got to jump in board and try to ride the wave. Otherwise, you're on the sidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like this is really, really helpful, and I really enjoyed this, Bryon. Is there kind of any last parting thought of, I wish I knew this, or this is how I would dive in or get started, for those that are listening, they're still kind of somewhat in, they're kind of like wondering, how do I do more than resell a vendor or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset. A lot of I have a lot of thoughts that come to mind about this, but it's when you said reselling a vendor, I think MSPs generally suffer from like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Like I have 15 vendors, and they all do, because we're great. Like people love selling to us. It's one to many. They sell to an MSP, and they get all these customers. So maybe it's time. This is the time you can take control of your own stack, right? Because right now you probably got IT glue. It's halfway implemented. You've got XYZ RMM and this, and they're kind of pseudo. And like imagine if AI could make this all work together, or maybe even say, I don't need this tool anymore because because we want to work the way we want to work, not the way this vendor tells me you want to work. So you could it might be an opportunity to run the business the way you've always wanted to run it, and not the way the vendor tells you to run it. So maybe it's a freedom thing for you. I don't know. That's
yeah. You don't have to play the same playbook, and do it the way the vendor is kind of holding you to do that. That is wonderful. Bryon, for folks that got a lot out of this, that would love to connect with you, reach out to you, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah. So our company is Iuvo Technologies. It's just Iuvo, not technology anymore. Sorry, but it's Iuvo Tech, IUVOTECH.com is our website. You can learn more. We share a lot of content. We have our own podcast. We talk about AI regularly in there. And I'm on LinkedIn, Bryon Beilman, and I love connecting with people. And I'll talk if you just want to know how on a personal level. If you have a question, I'd be happy to answer or work with you on that. Just to talk to you. So it's all good stuff.
Thanks for that. If you're listening, take Bryon up on that offer. That's amazing. Bryon, thank you so much. You're one of the rare people that I've asked on twice your wisdom, and this has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for being on MSP Mindset.
Yeah, thanks, Damien. I appreciate it. It's always great to be here, and I think you have a great podcast. So I think people can learn a lot from you.